Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when you're listening to this. I'm Alex Van Brocklin, the host of Rockin with the Brocklin, and we're back. It's been a little bit since I have recorded an episode. I actually recorded this episode a couple days ago, but I wanted to redo it because there were a few things I forgot about, including the turnout of last night's game. Yeah, but I felt last night's game was very important to talk about as well. But obviously, if you're a listener, if you're one of my friends or family members, I appreciate it. I'm going to go really quick because we have a lot to go over. Pretty much the entire month of January and the first week of February. We're going to start right at the beginning of the new year. Nuggets played the Hornets at home. It was a pretty easy game. Not gonna lie, the Hornets starters were getting killed. Brandon Miller played all right. He wasn't very efficient though. Miles Bridges was pretty good, but they didn't have LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier before he got traded to the Heat. It was a really solid night for Jamal and Porter. Jokic was kind of one of those nights where he didn't really have to do much for us to win. Reggie Jackson was also really big off the bench. Pretty easy win. Game after that, a lot more exciting. It was a national game on TNT. There were only two games this night. First one between the Bucks and the Spurs, and it was kind of a battle of Wembanyama, who is a lot of fun to watch, and Giannis. This was one of the most satisfying games I've ever watched in my life. Don't get me wrong, I was stressed. I had a high heart rate. It was not easy, but the Nuggets did come away with a win. Jokic was incredible. He had 34 points, 10 assists, 9 rebounds. Jamal Murray was also really good. He didn't shoot particularly well from three, but he still finished with 25 points. And pretty much the difference of this game was Aaron Gordon. I don't know what happened to this man, but he came alive in the second half and finished with 30 points and 9 rebounds, including some really big-time clutch shots down the stretch in the fourth quarter. The Warriors were pretty good as well. That's not really great analysis, but Steph had 30. It was a good game for Thompson. This was kind of before Kuminga's recent coming out party of just being a really good player. But they had their bench was solid in this game too. This was also before Chris Paul got injured. I did want to show you guys a video real quick. This was, so you can see this video on YouTube. This 10-minute long video, the final 6.5 minutes, has almost 1 million views. The Nuggets were down 18, and at one point they were down 21 in the fourth quarter. It was a huge comeback effort. Anyway, I want to show you guys the last little minute of the game because it's quite insane to watch. So let's take a look at this.
Low and can guards out on the perimeter. Jokic from Murray. Oh, he leaves it for Gordon. The lob from Jokic, his 10th assist of the game.
For the Nuggets this year, and a huge possession right here for both teams.
15 in the quarter for Gordon. That's a 20-4 Denver run. Gordon's got 30. Chris Paul at the controls.
Guarded by Jokic.
Wiggins back on the floor for Golden State. Got the Splash Brothers with Paul. He's going to fire the three. Missed it. Sharp. Offensive board. Lost the handle. Watson's got it.
Very interesting. They gave Chris Paul the three there. Put Jokic on him and backed up.
Denver can tie or take the lead. Gordon riding a season high right now. Watson in the corner. Good save. 6 to shoot. Jokic now. Saric on him. Jokic drops the shoulder and ties this game at 127. The Nuggets have covered an 18-point deficit. 2 seconds separating shot and game clock. Caldwell Pope on Curry. Now Jokic. And Murray with the steal. There's a clock issue there.
So real quick, before we get to the last little part of the game, the Warriors were up 123 to 105. They only scored 4 points in the final 6.5 minutes. Say what you want about the Warriors. They've been very wishy-washy this year, but I think that also says something about Denver's defense. On this final possession that Golden State has, I don't know what... I just do not understand Steph Curry's decision-making here. So he gets picked up by Jokic after the switch on the screen, and then KCP comes over to double, right? Right before this pass goes off, I don't know why he tried to like sling it to the corner to Kuminga. That's a very there's not a lot of guys who can make that pass. That's a very dangerous pass. Chris Paul was literally wide open right here. You know, maybe in the moment, Curry just thought Kuminga had a better shot, a better opportunity to make it. He technically was more open because Murray was closer to Paul. But Murray just read this pass perfectly and then steals the ball away after an ill-advised pass from Steph Curry. And then this happens. So I'll just play it from here.
There's a clock issue there.
No, timeout.
No. Oh, I beg your pardon. So 3.6 left.
From getting it on the run going up the floor.
Jokic has it. Clock ticks. Got to put one up. Jokic for the win. Oh! It's good! Jokic got it off in time! And the Nuggets win it!
That's crazy. If you keep up with basketball, you've probably seen this play by now. And I'm probably going to get like a minor copyright strike from the NBA just because I showed like the last minute of this game. But I don't really care. This was an amazing sequence and an amazing win coming out from the boys. I've probably watched this shot like 100 times at this point. It's quite amazing to watch.
Oh, I beg your pardon. So
but the fact that he just gets it with 3.5 seconds left and makes like a 39-footer to win the game.
Jokic has it. Clock ticks. Got to put one up. Jokic for the win. Oh!
He banked it in, and that crowd is just shocked. Like you can hear him when he makes that. They're like, they can't believe it. Like I couldn't believe it either. I remember I was watching it right here on my computer. I jumped out of my chair. It was quite an insane thing to watch.
Jokic has it. Clock ticks. Got to put one up. Jokic for the win. Oh! It's good!
Just stunned. But yeah, spent some time there. Gonna try and speed run through a lot of stuff. I have a few more videos to show. But yeah, amazing win. Truly a magical moment in this game. A lot of which we experienced last year. And honestly, this year has been a lot of magic moments as well. Alright, moving on. Next game was back at home against the Magic. This was a very frustrating game. Paolo Banchero played amazing. This was his first and I believe only triple-double to this point in his career. He had 32, 11, and 10. The Nuggets were up in this game, and it was kind of frustrating to see them kind of fumble the lead away. It was still close at the end, though, but the last possession was a disaster. It was pretty much just Murray dribbling around and then trying to take the shot even though he was not having a very good night. Jokic was having a great night. He was 13 for 19 from the field. But a little frustrating that we lost this game, but the Magic have been decent this season, so not that big of a deal. One of our only losses at home this year too. Next game was against the Pistons, and this was in the midst of their huge, enormous losing streak where they almost broke the record for it, but they tied it. I think it was at 29. It was 28 or 29. Since then, the Pistons in the month of February have actually been very good. But this game was really notable for two things. This was a season high. I think it still is the season high for Jamal Murray. He played great in this game. He had 37. And the other notable thing is that Jokic had 4 points. It was kind of a meme going around on Twitter that Jokic was like trolling the Pistons because he was like actively not shooting. He shot 3 shots the entire game, and he only played 24.5 minutes. This game was pretty put away. I mean, they won by 17. I think that the Nuggets were up by almost 30 at one point. But yeah, Jokic was kind of trolling, and I thought it was really funny because he really does not care about his stats at all. He just, I think he saw this as an opportunity to give his teammates more of a scoring role because, you know, it's the Pistons, and he finished with 4 points. He also had 16 assists, which that's absurd. If that tells you anything about how this game went, he was the facilitator for sure. Next game, Utah. Fun fact, and I'll probably add like a picture, maybe like a little video when I'm editing this. But I was actually at this game. I went with my buddy David. Really, really fun time. Nuggets ended up losing, of course. I'm telling you, I don't know what it is, but they just cannot win in Utah. I went and saw them last April. Granted, they kind of rested their starters in the fourth quarter of that game, but they still lost that game. They lost this game. They've actually, I think they've lost like all but one game in Utah over like the last like 4 or 5 seasons. It's kind of insane how bad we are playing in the Delta Center. Jokic was great in this game, of course, and everybody else was okay. The bench kind of killed us in the end, and I mean Markkanen and Jordan Clarkson were. There's something about Clarkson. He's just really good. I think it's interesting too because he comes off the bench and he plays more minutes than any of the starters pretty much except for Markkanen. Very close there, 30 seconds. Clarkson, I would kill for a guy like Clarkson on the Nuggets. Love him a lot. But yeah, I'll put the picture in or something like that. Next game, national game. This was back at home in Denver, where the Nuggets are pretty much unbeatable, unless Paolo Banchero has a triple double. This was an exciting game. It wasn't the closest in the second half, but it was a lot of fun to watch. Zion had a great night. He had 30 points, efficient from the field as well. Jokic also had a great night. He finished with 27 points, 14 assists, and 10 rebounds, notching him another triple-double. What was really notable about this game was one of the passes that Jokic did. Right before halftime. This was history.
You know, in the NFL, they have a guy upstairs that's in charge of the challenge flag for the coaches.
That's not super relevant to an NBA game, but...
How about Jokic with an incredible pass to Aaron Gordon? Every night, we see something new from Nikola Jokic. It's a SportsCenter Top 10 highlight. 66-51, Denver in front. 8 threes for the Nuggets, Nikola Jokic.
A really nice behind the back, semi no look. He kind of looked a little bit, but he didn't. I don't think I think he knew Gordon was there. He just didn't know exactly where he was. But I mean, that's right on Zion as well. Like that's a highlight. Good game from them coming there though. Next game, this was at home again against Indiana. Indiana did not have Pascal Siakam yet in their trade, and they also did not have Tyrese Halliburton. They put up a decent fight, though. This was also the night where Bruce Brown got his championship ring, a very deserving championship ring. He had a really good game. He was their best player by far. 18 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. He was playing aggressive, and it was nice to see that. Of course, before he got dealt in the Pascal Siakam trade. I can't believe that Indiana stole Bruce Brown from the Nuggets and then they just traded him. I know they traded him to get an all-star, but like, it hurts. It hurts. Another great game coming out. This was a super balanced game, which I really like to see. Everybody, all the starters got in on the action. KCP finished with a very modest 11 points, but literally Murray, Jokic, and Porter all had 25, and then Gordon also had 20 and 10. Not to mention a Sombor double, as the Nuggets announcers call it, when Jokic is one shy of a triple-double. He had 25, 12, and 9. And not to mention Murray also with 8 assists. Very balanced game coming out. This was a lot of fun to watch. Also, Jokic shot 12 of 13 from the field. He had a stretch in January where he was shooting like a ridiculous 80% from the field over 5 games. It was kind of insane. Next game, this was a big game. Philadelphia. On national TV, TNT, Nuggets went into Philadelphia and lost. I have to admit, in this game, Jokic definitely got outplayed by Embiid. And also Maxey outplayed Murray, for sure. Murray had a very modest 17 for him. He averages 21 on the season. 10 assists. Jokic had 25 points and 19 rebounds, but it just wasn't enough. Embiid played fantastic in this game. He actually finished with a double-double with assists, almost a triple-double, 41 points. We'll talk more about Embiid a little later. But this was it was a very exciting game. The Nuggets definitely could have won it, but Philly kind of just pulled away in the end. And that was Embiid. Next game, this is one of my favorite games of the season to watch because it was the stars were coming out essentially. Boston, who at this point was 20-0 at home, they were hosting the defending champions. And Murray and Jokic did not disappoint. Murray and Jokic were fantastic. Jokic again with the Sombor double, finished with 34, 12, and 9. Murray was fantastic though. He was efficient from the field. He had a game high 35 points. And there's kind of this meme about Murray going around right now that like he only plays well against the good teams. So if Murray has like a night where he doesn't do too well, like you're either a bad team or a potential fraud. And if he does well against you, then you're like a certified good team. Essentially, if it could be narrowed down to one sentence with Jamal Murray, it'd be sometimes the lights are too dim. And if he's playing against like the Pistons are a bad example because he had a great game against them. But if he's playing like, maybe like a mid team, like think like the Nets, or maybe like in the West, I'm thinking like, I don't even know. Honestly, the Lakers are like kind of mid, but like, I don't know, the Pelicans or something. They're probably on fraud alert at that point. Super solid game from the Nuggets though. Derek White was really good. He was definitely the best player for the Celtics. They had all their starting five in. Porzingis was amazing in the first quarter. I think he had like 15 points in the first quarter, and then he kind of disappeared as he does. Tatum was not good, and Brown was even worse. I know Tatum still had 22, but he was not efficient from the field. He shot 1 of 8 from 3, and Brown was even worse. 1 of 9 from 3, 6 of 19 from the field. It really came down to defense in the end, and the Nuggets have the number 1 clutch defense in the league. That meaning in the last 5 minutes of a game, when the game is within 5 points, how does their defense stack up? They're the best clutch defense by a wide margin. Like their defensive rating is 94. I think it's like 94.6, which just for the people that don't know, that means that they're only giving up 94 points per 100 possessions in the last 5 minutes of a clutch game, which is like fantastic. The average defensive rating in the NBA right now is like somewhere in like 115, and the Nuggets are at 94. They just really lock down at the end of games. Very clutch team. Amazing win in Boston too, giving them their first loss of the season. They were 20-0 coming into this game, 20-1 after. Next game. This was when, starting with the Philly game 2 games ago. This is when they went on a road trip. Do not be fooled by the 9 points. This game was not really that close. Jokic was just insane. Another game where Murray had modest numbers against a bad team. Jokic had 42, 12, and 8. He was actually getting to the free throw line. These are like average, like Giannis numbers for the line, but Jokic was able to actually get to the line. Not much to be said about this game. It was just a really solid start to finish, and best player in the world acting like the best player in the world. Next game after that, Indiana again. This was on the road trip. This game was a lot closer than the one in Denver. It really came down to the wire, and there was the clutch defense coming in again. Great game for Murray as well, so maybe Indiana is actually a good team. I believe, yeah, Halliburton was still out for this game, but Siakam was able to play in this game, and honestly, he was okay. Miles Turner was a lot more impactful, in my opinion. He didn't get his notable blocks as he usually does, but he still did have 22. Jokic and Murray both finished with 31. Jokic with 31, 13, and 10. Murray with 31, 8, and 7. Next game. Oh, this is the game we like to forget. This was a disaster. Funny enough, this is the only game this season that I actually did not watch till the end, because it was a mess. Jokic came to play, as per usual. He dropped 31 and 11 and shot efficiently. Murray was trash. No offense, Murray. I love you. KCP was also not very good. Porter was trash, and Gordon was decent, and the bench sucked, and we got wrecked. I don't know what it was. They just couldn't shoot in this game. The Knicks looked unstoppable. We'll talk about them a little later. OG Anunoby was fantastic. Brunson, I know he only had 21, but this is a very impactful 21 because they put this game away pretty quickly. I want to look at the box score real quick of the quarters. Yeah, they were up by 12 after the first, and then 21 at halftime. It was over. Easily a game that the Nuggets want to forget. They lost by 38 and only scored 84 points. Jokic had 31 out of 84. That's insane. But yeah, this didn't really I wasn't upset. I kind of just was like, whatever. Sometimes you're just going to get blown out. Games like this happen to every team. But moving on to the next game. This game sparked a bit of controversy because Philadelphia was coming to Denver. And if you don't know, Joel Embiid has not played a game in Denver since 2019. And that continued with this game. It was very weird because he was not on the injury list. And then 15 minutes before the game started, the team doctors recommended or ruled him out. So he didn't play in this game. Especially what came in the next following games, I definitely don't blame Joel Embiid. I do think it was a little suspicious that he wasn't on the injury report, but that's not his fault. He's not in charge of that. And they didn't want him to play, so he got hurt. And then a few games later against the Warriors, he actually did get hurt, and once again, we'll talk about that a little more later. None of the Sixers big three played. Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, and Embiid all sat out. However, this was still a close game, partly in fact to Patrick Beverley, who played very well. Also, Paul Reed, their backup center. This dude literally had the greatest game of his life. He had 30 points and 13 rebounds and actually outplayed Jokic. I don't like to admit that, but it's true. But the Nuggets, once again, had enough of a clutch effort to close this game out. Very disappointing that Embiid... I was really looking forward to see Embiid playing in Denver, because whenever they play, it's always in Philadelphia. But I guess we'll have to wait till potentially next season. Or maybe he just never plays in Denver again. I don't know. So we'll hope for that. Next game, another big game at home. In Milwaukee. This was a little before Doc Rivers took... Well, no, Doc Rivers was their coach for this game. And they lost. This was a very tight game, very exciting at the end. Giannis played really well. Dame did not... Oh my gosh, I don't know what is going on with him, but he did not play very well. Murray was huge. Playing big against the big teams. He put up 35. Jokic did not have a great shooting night, but he was very impactful regardless. He still finished with 25, 16, and 12. Oh my gosh, those are ridiculous numbers. KCP was a good lift as well. And I really haven't talked about him as much, but I have been loving Peyton Watson. He is maybe not the best scorer in the world, but he is literally an elite defender at year 2. They send him on sometimes, they had him on Giannis, and he was locking Giannis up. It was insane. Really solid game from Denver. Game after this, Jokic actually sat out in this game. This was our final meeting against Oklahoma City this season. I was a little sad because I wanted us to split with them because that might have implications down the line. But regardless, very proud of this team. Murray did not have a great night, but Gordon, this 16 is very... it's almost a disingenuous 16. Not that he didn't deserve it, but just he did a ton in this game. He was huge. He had 16 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 blocks, and he was kind of just like running things. He did finish 1 for 6 from the free throw line, but still, Gordon, this was a really good game for him as he was our starting 5. Honestly, this was a very winnable game. Shea was kind of amazing in the fourth quarter, and that's kind of what happened at the end. But a very winnable game, but I'm proud of you guys for this game for sure without the big guy. And that's it for January. We're moving on to February. First game of the month was against Portland. I had some of my friends over. We had a good watch party for this game. I have a good friend who might be on the podcast in the future, who's a big Portland fan. Simons played really well, but Scoot was huge. Holy cow, he had 30 points off the bench. And this game, it wasn't the closest, but Portland definitely kept it interesting. Another huge night. Jamal Murray had a terrible shooting night, which might tell you something about how Portland is. He only finished with 13, but he did have 10 assists and 9 rebounds. He had a Sombor double as well. Jokic finished with 27, 22 rebounds, and 12 assists. And it was a good balanced night for us. Peyton Watson with a huge 14 off the bench. Same with Reggie Jackson, 13. Great game all around for the Nuggets. Now, this one was a lot closer. You could probably see this thumbnail. This is Peyton Watson getting hyped, and he was big in this game. He had 12 points, but he had 10 points in the fourth quarter alone, and not to mention his defensive presence. Murray had a better game. He had 21 points and 10 assists, marking his second game in a row with at least double digits in 10 assists. Jokic had a good game again. This is a good game for him. 29, 8, and 7. And then Portland, they kept it really interesting. Ayton played great. Holy cow. He had 27 points and 9 rebounds. Simons again with 26. And this dude, Duop Reith, he's a meme among like the Portland fans, but he's actually a good player. He's like a stretch 5, and he's a really good shooter. 27-year-old rookie, which is a little uncommon, but he also had 10 points in the previous game. Voice crack. But yeah, so that leads us up to currently. Last night was very big for Los Angeles because they unveiled the Kobe Bryant statue. This was a big night, because he passed away at this point, I believe 4 years ago. And they wanted to do it tonight because, yesterday. It was February 8th, 2024. And then those are both of his numbers, 8 and 24. And honestly, a really cool statue. I'm a fan of it. Not sure why I clicked on the same image twice, but yeah, it's kind of cool. I like how his jersey looks too. It's a direct representation of when he scored 81 points against the Raptors in 2006. This picture right here, that's I don't know why it reloaded, but yeah, that's what it's like referencing, and I think it's really cool. Anyway, the game last night though was a national game on TNT. And the Nuggets won on Kobe Bryant's Memorial Night. So, way to go, Lakers. You guys... I mean, okay, I know that it's against the Nuggets, but, you gotta win this game. I'm sorry, you gotta win this game. It's kind of embarrassing that they lost this game. And if you're a Nuggets fan like me, it's really funny that we won this game. But anyway... The big 3 scorers came out last night. We did not have KCP, so Justin Holiday got the start, and he actually fouled out. I forgot about that. Went to Buffalo Wild Wings to watch this one last night. Got some wings, and it was a really good time. Murray finished with 29 points and 11 assists. His third straight game with a double-digit assist, longest streak of his career. Jokic finished with another on-board double, 24, 13, and 9. And Porter, oh my goodness, Porter was great in this game. To all the Porter haters out there, and I know that there's a lot of Nuggets fans that are Porter haters, looking at you, Jared, we got to give this man his respect. He is a good player. He shot great last night. He hit a really clutch 3 down the stretch, which I'll show you in a sec. Davis played really well in this game too. Finished with 32 points, 9 rebounds, 4 blocks, and 3 steals. Really all around good game for Davis. Austin Reeves was LeBron was also He finished with 25, but he had a few bad turnovers down the line too. Bigger story of this game was Jackson Hayes coming off the bench. This guy only had 9 points, but this was some of the most impactful 9 points and 6 rebounds I've ever seen in my life. Pretty much all of them were in the fourth quarter alone. He played really well. I'm going to show you just basically the last few minutes of the game. It was tied 104 to 104, and then the Nuggets kind of kicked in the clutch mode, I guess.
Play. Murray winds his 3. Bullseye.
Oh, man.
3-point Denver lead.
Cold-blooded.
Steely shot. 27 and 5 threes for Jamal Murray. Gordon comes out on James. Reeves a screen. There's a double screen by Hayes, and James inside. It's loose. Murray climbs the ladder and gets the ball. The other way, fakes the pass and puts up the runner.
Why not?
5 in a row from Jamal Murray.
Well, he torched them in the playoffs a year ago, and he continues to haunt them.
29 points and 10 in the quarter for Jamal. It's Davis. Reeves. Here's a 3. Rebound Porter. Murray comes up with 2 gigantic baskets. A 3 and a 2 and 5 straight for Denver. Almost swiped there. Jokic corner. It's Porter a 3.
And here's the problem. If you're
Yeah. So within the span of a minute, the Nuggets score 8 points in a row. Murray with a really good 3 to start it off, and then after he hits the 3, LeBron, he drives. This is what LeBron does. Maybe not the greatest decision. Murray gets a huge rebound, just going against Jokic, not the greatest. And this transition defense from the Lakers is awful. Murray he literally just runs up to the circle and just delivers a classic floater. But and then good look for Reeves, just can't hit it. Unlucky for him. Porter with a big rebound. But like this is insane. This is how good Jokic is. So he's being guarded here by Davis, and Taurean Prince is very close as well, guarding Murray. Obviously, he doesn't want Murray to get out of his sight. Austin Reeves is the X factor here because he's known for doing this. He will come up and try and swipe it from the ball handler, and if he does, that's a layup that gets the Lakers right back in the game. And then Jokic does something I don't think I've ever seen something quite like this. He perfectly, I don't know if Porter maybe said something to him or maybe he heard Reeves running, but he perfectly puts the ball up right away from Reeves. And what does that lead open? Because he's going to find the open guy. If there's one guy you do not leave open on the 3-point line, it's Michael Porter Jr. And Reeves gambles, and Jokic just casually lifts it up, and then he knows immediately where to pass it. And then, of course, Porter knocks it down. Porter's one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. That is a crazy sequence. I unbelievable sequence. We actually ended up scoring again, which I'll show you because it's pretty hype. But yeah, Reeves doesn't get the foul here, and then showtime.
Point game, Murray the other way. Hold on, Porter with the flush.
And then he throws up a nice alley-oop to Porter. Amazing end to this game. Nuggets were actually up by 15. The Lakers cut it back, but the Lakers never got the lead. They tied it, but could never get the lead. So great finish coming out from the Nuggets again. Unbelievable 200 IQ play by Jokic. And that brings us to today. So, today, February 9th, a Friday. Nuggets are playing a back-to-back. They're going to be playing against the Kings tonight, which I'm looking forward to watching. Last time we played the Kings, we actually lost, and it was in Sacramento. It should be a good game. I believe all the starters on both teams are playing. The only question is KCP. I hope that he can play tonight. But yeah, it's kind of interesting storyline-wise because Domantas, but his nickname is Domas. He actually leads the league in double-doubles this season. He has 46, but right at second is Jokic, who has 43. So the two league leaders in double-doubles going head-to-head. Also, Sabonis, he's averaging basically 20 points, 13 rebounds, 8 assists per game. Not named an all-star. I was shocked by that. I might talk about the all-stars on the next episode because it'll be closer to all-star weekend by then. I don't really have a problem with any of the all-stars except for the fact that Sabonis was not one, which was very surprising to me. But yeah, that'll be interesting. Another thing about these two is that they are also the two league leaders in triple-doubles. Currently, they're tied at 15. And that's kind of insane because they're also two big men. I never would have thought that in the year 2024 I'd be looking at the top 4 league leaders in triple-doubles, and 3 of them are big men. It seems so far away compared to where the league was like 10, 15 years ago. But that's how it is now. And as for their overall stats, I mean, obviously Jokic is better. I mean, no offense to Sabonis, but he's a great player too. But yeah, he's just not quite Jokic. Pretty much Jokic leads in everything. He's got less fouls, he's got fewer turnovers, he's got more blocks, steals, assists, rebound, or not rebounds, but more points and a significantly higher plus-minus. But regardless, Sabonis still a great player, very important to the Kings. So I'll be looking forward to that game. Last few things before I want to close it out. Once again, thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. The NBA trade deadline was yesterday. It was relatively quiet compared to last year, but I just want to go over a few of the bigger ones and see how I feel about it. The Mavericks traded for PJ Washington from the Hornets. He's a solid forward. I think that he might fit them pretty well, actually, because they're pretty guard heavy. They did give up Grant Williams, who I thought was a good pickup for them, and Seth Curry, who unfortunately seems to change teams like every year, sometimes twice a year. But solid trade for the Mavs. I think it's going to work out well for him. The Sixers traded for Buddy Hield from the Pacers. They essentially sent nothing and got Buddy Hield. They sent Furkan Korkmaz, I think his name is. I saw him play in the games against the Nuggets, and he's fine. And then Doug McDermott, who I forgot was still in the league, but great shooter from the Spurs. And then some second-round picks and cash. Buddy Hield is he's a great shooter, but he is kind of inconsistent. He might help the Sixers a little bit, especially since they pretty much lost Embiid for at least the next month. We'll see about him. He did injure himself against the Warriors, and he has a meniscus injury in his knee. I believe his left knee. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in the MVP race. But yeah, this helps the Sixers. And also, I didn't even know this, but Marcus Morris is going to the Spurs. This is actually really funny because he was a few weeks ago, he was given the key to the city of Philadelphia because he's done a lot of good work with the community there. And very honorable for him to receive that. But now he is going to San Antonio. So that's kind of interesting. Let's see. Royce O'Neal from the Nets, who is a solid forward as well, going to the Suns. I think that's a good pickup for them because they lack depth and they lack physicality, I think, in defense. The Suns, as we know, can be one of the most dynamic scoring teams in the league, but maybe this will help them be a little more balanced. These names aren't anything to roll over about. Another bigger trade is that the Thunder got Gordon Hayward, who many years ago was an all-star for the Utah Jazz and since has bounced around to a couple teams. He's also had just horrific injuries over his career. Truly a very big what if in the NBA, much like Derrick Rose, but not to the same extent. If he can stay healthy, I think he'll be good for the Thunder, but honestly, I don't think he's going to stay healthy, and he's not even healthy right now. Like, if he was there, he couldn't even play with him. But it's going to be interesting to see if he starts or comes off the bench. I feel like he might be better at coming off the bench, and he's the only veteran that they have. Like, the Thunder are so young still, so that'll be good for them. This is probably the biggest trade of the deadline, is that the Knicks traded for Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic from the Pistons. If you've been watching the Pistons, you know that they've been very unsuccessful lately, although they are on a 2-game win streak. But Bojan Bogdanovic was a big candidate for the trade market before the deadline. It's very interesting that the Knicks were able to pull him, and they sent Evan Fournier, Malachi Flynn, Quentin Grimes, who, to be fair, he's pretty decent actually, and then Ryan Arcidiacono. I think Arcidiacono, I saw a meme about him the other day that he has like 20 games in a row where he scored 0 points, which is a little misleading because I think he plays like 1 or 2 minutes a game. But like, okay, the Knicks sent like nothing, and they got Bogdanovic, who's averaging 20 a game. Granted, he's definitely not going to average that on the Knicks. You know, he's going to be probably like their 3rd or 4th option. And then Alec Burks, who's a solid player as well. Really good trade, I feel, for the Knicks. It gives them more depth for sure. Random trade. A few random trades, I feel. Dennis Schroeder got traded to the Nets for Spencer Dinwiddie. I guess Thaddeus Young was also a part of that. I don't really see how this helps either team. Yeah, that's it. Patrick Beverley got sent to the Bucks, which is interesting, for Cameron Payne and a 2nd-round pick. Beverley, who's actually been playing well for the Sixers, I'm a little surprised they dealt him, but I think that Milwaukee needs him more than Philadelphia does, because Milwaukee's defense is atrocious. Their perimeter defense in particular is awful. Brook Lopez and Giannis do not get a pass either because their defense has been trash. So maybe this will help them. Also, maybe some leadership. I know that Pat Bev and Dame have had a little feud in the past. So hopefully this gets resolved and they can work together. And then that's pretty much the big trades to talk about. So nothing for the Nuggets, nothing for some of the other bigger teams, but a few small things here and there. Nothing crazy. Real quick, we're going to look at the standings. Oh my goodness, the Cleveland Cavaliers are 2nd in the East. Wow. They've won 8 in a row, and I think 16 of the last 17 after they beat Brooklyn last night. Jared Allen and Ben Simmons actually kind of got into it, and they got into a little scuffle, and then afterwards the Cavaliers went on a 21-0 run, which is really funny if you know anything about Ben Simmons. The Celtics, once again, are just holding their lead. The Bucks have fallen off. Oh my gosh. I know that Dame's been injured over the last few games, but it does not deny the fact that Doc Rivers' start to the Bucks coach, or his beginning to his Bucks coaching tenure has been terrible. He started 1-5, and in 4 of those 5 losses, they have had leads in the second half. And maybe Adrian Griffin wasn't the problem, just saying. The Knicks have also been on fire lately. They did lose their last game, but I think they won 9 in a row at one point, which the Cavaliers very well could do as well. Sixers have been falling. Embiid got hurt, and they're not the same team without him. Without a doubt, if the season would have ended, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, Embiid would be the MVP. He was putting up 35 a game, along with, I think, 10 rebounds and video game numbers. But unfortunately, he's been hurt, and he's not going to be able to qualify for anything at the end of the season due to the 65-game rule. So, sucks, but you got to stay healthy. Availability is the most important thing in basketball. Pacers have also kind of been slumping. 5-5 over the last 10. Not to mention the Sixers 3-7 over the last 10. That is bad. The Heat also went on a big losing streak, but they've won a couple in a row. And then the Magic are kind of hanging around with the Heat. I expect the Sixers to drop down to the play-in over the next few weeks, and probably the Heat to rise into the top 6. And then, only other thing I want to know is that the Pistons have won 2 games in a row, and that's pretty awesome. Oh, and then the other thing I was kind of just looking about in the East is that the Raptors are 0-11 in their division, and they're the only team in the league who have not won a game in their division. Kind of random, but it's whatever. Now the West is much more interesting. A few days ago, there was actually a 4-way tie for first in the West with the Wolves. Actually, I believe the Thunder were... No, it was the Clippers were first, and then it was Wolves, Thunder, Nuggets. And they all were tied for first place, which this has never happened this late into a season where 4 teams have been tied for the top seed. There's been a little bit of separation since then. As you can see, they're all tied in the loss column now, which is the column that means the most. But the Wolves won last night over Milwaukee, and it was a beatdown too. Nuggets won over the Lakers, and will actually have a chance to jump the Wolves and get into first tonight if they can beat the Kings. Clippers have also been on fire. They lost their last game. It was against the Pelicans, but they've been a great team over the last month as well. Actually, the hottest team in the league since December 1st. I think they're like 29-6, like just amazing numbers. Phoenix has been really good lately. So have the Pelicans. They're both on win streaks. The Mavs have kind of been getting it together, and the Kings have not looked great over the last couple games, but maybe that'll change. Warriors are still not even in the play-in, despite their 3-game winning streak. They have a chance to maybe go over Utah in their next game, but if the Nuggets if the season ended today, the Nuggets would be the 2 seed, which, that's not exactly where we want to be. We want to be number 1 seed for the home court advantage, but we'll take it. We'll still play a play-in team, and I'm very, very confident in any of these 4 teams in the play-in that the Nuggets can beat them in probably 4 or 5, maybe 6. Honestly, Utah might be the toughest just because they win at home against us. All right, last few things before I wrap it up here. MVP ladder. Embiid's hurt. He's not going to win MVP. If he would have stayed healthy, he probably would have won MVP unless he just really had a couple bad games. Jokic is now first in the MVP ladder. I can't lie, it feels like I'm not surprised that Jokic is first, but I don't really feel he should be. In my opinion, I would put Shea there right now just because of how close the West is. If obviously, if Denver has separation and they win the West, give him MVP. But it also kind of feels like he's winning it by default just because Embiid got hurt. Not the way you want to win it, but like at the same time, it does show his dominance. I mean, winning 3 MVPs in 4 years, and then in the year when he didn't win it, you got Finals MVP. Like that's all-time stuff, Shea, number 2. Giannis, number 3 for some reason. I don't know why he went up. The Bucks have been awful lately. He also, in their last game, they lost to Minnesota by 20 last night. He had like 17 points and was just not good. You can see it right here. The NBA actually highlighted it. Their worst home loss of the season. Luka should definitely be above Giannis. I don't know why he is 4th. The only reason that he is because the Mavericks are 8th. But I have confidence that they're going to rise in the West, at least a little bit. You probably can't win MVP as an 8 seed. But it's like, I don't know. Like he's putting up absurd numbers. 34.5, 9 rebounds, and 9.5 assists. He's almost averaging a triple-double. It's kind of insane. Jason Tatum, I'm fine with him being 5, I guess, but there are a few more deserving guys, I feel. Number 6, Kawhi Leonard, very deserving. Domas Sabonis, somewhat deserving. He's been playing great, but the Kings just aren't quite there. I don't know what the heck Kevin Durant is doing here at all. Donovan Mitchell, absolutely. The Cavaliers have been amazing, and I don't know what Anthony Davis is doing here. Whoever put Anthony Davis as 10 on this list has no idea what is happening. Some of the people that should be on this list ahead of him, Devin Booker, absolutely. I'd put Devin Booker here, not Kevin Durant. Jalen Brunson should be top 6 or 7 in this race. It's ridiculous that he's not even top 10, but Anthony Davis is. Edwards as well has been great this year. Halliburton has kind of fallen off a little bit, and the Pacers aren't as good, and then they just put LeBron here because it's LeBron. So honestly, kind of a terrible MVP ladder right now. Giannis does not belong here at all. Luka should be up. Kawhi should also be up. I'll retcon that. I'll say Kawhi ahead of Jason Tatum, and then put Brunson on here. Goodness. Last thing I wanted to talk about is that over the last month and change, there's been a lot of scoring in the league. We talked about the Giannis 64-point game, I believe on the first or second episode. But since then, there have been 5 more 60-point or higher games. Karl Anthony Towns and Joel Embiid both put up ridiculous numbers on the same night. The difference is that Embiid put up 70 and won, and Cat put up 62 and lost. Yeah, I don't know really what to say. That this Minnesota loss was also really bad for them. They blew a lead to the Hornets, and they were forcing Cat to shoot, like intentionally throwing the game so he could get at I don't know. It was this whole thing. Embiid had a monster game at 70 though, just unbelievable stuff from him. And then that was on a Monday. Later that Friday, Luka and Booker and his father, that is, put up insane numbers on the same night as well, with a very similar thing happening. Luka put up 73 against the Hawks, and Booker put up 62. I believe it was against the Pacers, but Booker lost this game, and Luka also won this game. And then I believe 2 weeks ago, Steph put up 60 in an overtime game, which they lost as well. So essentially, over these last 5 games, if you put up 70, you win, and if you don't, you lose. Take with that information what you will. But yeah, I appreciate everybody tuning in for this one. I have no idea how long this episode is going to be. I would like for it to be under an hour, but we'll see about that. I try to blitz through things as fast as possible. But anyway, I appreciate everybody watching again. Going to be using a new thumbnail, I think, for this video that one of my friends made. She's very excited about it. And yeah, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, whatever. And I'll talk to you guys next time.